Welcome to Win FM. It is about 14 minutes past 10, and with us for an interview is Dr. Denzel Douglas, head of the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party, and Steve Ransford, who is running in constituency number 4. Now, Steve, I understand you're shadow minister possibly for international trade, social security, small business, and entrepreneurship. Can you start by telling us a little about that aspiration?
Well, that aspiration came from being a community-minded person, someone who has been in the community for a long time, who has always been involved in the activities of the community. And based on my qualifications and my degrees, such as accounting and economics and management, I think it's fitting that some of those ministries that you mentioned would come under my portfolio. And in fact, in addition to that, you have a historical area in constituency number 4. You have the where Sir Thomas Warner landed. You have Old Road, which came out of his second landing, and that's how Old Road became Old Road, because they wanted to go back to the old road. And then you have challenges. You have Bloody River, Bloody Point, and you come down to Middle Island, Sir Thomas Warner grave site. In addition, also, you have the Wingfield Estate, where it hosts Romney Manor. Romney Manor has a rich history in our federation. And so, given the historical nature of the constituency, it is fitting that I will deal with tourism in that aspect of it.
Okay, Dr. Douglas, assuming you'll be Prime Minister and Finance Minister if the Labour Party is successful?
Right, definitely. I would be the Prime Minister of our country. I am not certain if I would hold another portfolio in the upcoming new Labour administration. But in my capacity as the Prime Minister, I would have overall oversight of all of the ministries, in the sense that as the Prime Minister, I would have advised His Excellency the Governor General to make the portfolio appointments. And so I would definitely pay close attention to what is happening in the entire government as it is functioning. The delivery of the services to the people as would have been expected through the various portfolios headed by the various ministers of government, so that I would be at all times, especially using the importance of the cabinet structure to see what is happening in each ministry, what is happening in the government on a whole, and thus give me a better opportunity to give advice here and there, suggestions here and there. I wouldn't say intervention, but if that becomes necessary, of course, that would take place. But based on the situation as it is now, I believe I would want to pay close attention to the economic situation post-COVID-19, and would therefore concentrate on ensuring that the stimulus package that would have been created for the benefit of those who have been affected, that it is pursued very vigorously and timely. In fact, before we leave here, I would want to give a little sprinkling of what the fiscal stimulus program will be like.
Okay, that'll be fine. What would you expect, Dr. Douglas, of a Minister Ransford, whether in the area of international trade, social security, small business, etc.?
What's that?
What would you expect of a Minister Ransford?
Oh, okay. I would expect, first of all, Minister Ransford to have been seized with the government, what I would call now, emergency program, to implement this program to the benefit of our citizens. We, in particular, want to use small business development and entrepreneurship as a major stepping stone. As he's told you, he is going to be looking seriously at tourism. Tourism is the sector that has been the leading sector, it has been hardest hit. And as a result of that, I think I would want to see him pursue opportunities to ensure that there's a recovery, and at the same time, the products which are generated as a result of the rebuilding of the tourism sector, that they would be produced and served to the people.
Steve, how would you approach that challenge that's being thrown at you?
Certainly it is a challenge, but as I mentioned earlier, given the rich history that we have, we can always divert to heritage tourism. I don't think that is pursued strongly in St. Kitts. And of course, tourism will change based on the COVID-19 pandemic. And so we will look at all dimensions of the tourism plateau, and then we will utilize whatever is necessary for our country. In terms of specific, I cannot give you any specific now, but one of those I know will be heritage tourism.
Okay, Dr.
You'd also have agro-tourism too, because we will produce some unique products of St. Kitts and Nevis.
Right. Dr. Douglas, given the lessons coming from COVID-19, leaders around the region, governments around the region, politicians are taking a second look and saying, look, we really don't need to have all our eggs in one basket. Look at what is happening to tourism. Your new government, even when it wins, what kind of consideration would that be given in terms of developing other sectors to be pillars of the economy as well?
Right. I think this is a very, very important question, because we were always saying that the agricultural sector needed to be developed. COVID-19, the experience of COVID-19 has created an emergency in the realization that this sector, the agricultural sector, has to be developed. And so I want to emphasize that whoever is going to be responsible for agriculture must be seized with the opportunity of creating this as a new productive sector, thus diversifying the economy from where it is today. So agricultural sector will take pride of place as tourism is today. Not only that, I think there are opportunities to explore the international financial services sector as well. In fact, one of the planks on which, or one of the vehicles, I should say, on which we are going to really develop the economy is the CBI, Citizenship by Investment Program. It has to be restructured. It has to be maybe redesigned. I think we have the experience and the capacity in-house so to do. What you will discover, Ken, is that among our citizens, there are some who are global in terms of their outreach. So when we speak glibly of blockchain technology, when we speak of Bitcoin and the new currency that is going to be created, we are talking about putting to work people who are proud citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis, who are pioneers, successful pioneers in these areas, and thus would have to be explored and without any rancor, I said exploited, because this is the way the new economy is going to go. Tourism, yes. Agriculture, yes. But international financial services, seeing if we can find the linkages and the twinings between blockchain technology and, of course, the new currency involving bitcoins and things of this nature. This is where we want to push our new economy. People are yearning to come in to do these things.
Now, on the question of agriculture, just going back to it slightly.
Yes.
Governments sometimes speak glibly about expanding the agricultural sector. It usually doesn't happen. Clearly, there are problems. There are hills to climb, if I can put it that way. And it just doesn't happen. What will a Denzel Douglas-led government do to interject energy into the agricultural sector? And I know at some stage the country has been talking about the decriminalization of marijuana.
Yes.
How much of a role would that play in a new agriculture sector?
That will play a critical role after we would have done the necessary research to see how we can develop the subsector of the agricultural sector and make sure that we take it to the next level. The opportunities are there. You've seen what happened in Canada. You've seen what is happening in several states in the United States of America, all around the world. I brought someone here who was interested in medicinal marijuana, for example. And this is not a situation where anybody from foreign is going to come and own this industry. We have our local people from the Rastafarian community who for years, even though they were doing it illegally, they have developed the techniques, the necessary techniques. All they would need, in my opinion, is the necessary supporting capital and the results of research that would have been done, and they are good to go. This is a sector that will employ a lot of our young people. A lot of our young people today, government has been accused of paying them for peace. We want to put them to productive use. We want them to become millionaires. I talk about creating the first 1,000 millionaires in the first 5 years of this new term. They are among them. The research has been done. It is being applied in other countries. What we need to do is to have it properly structured and organized. But apart from that, commercial farming generally in the production of food, fruits and vegetables, what is necessary here is the capital. We had created the Capistia farm just on the peripheral outskirts of Kittishan Hill. Over 500 acres. We never got the chance to move that into the type of agricultural experiment and success that we had anticipated. All we need is about 4 major investors, maybe less, in this particular sector. Commercialize hydroponics, irrigation. In other words, you invest money, and then as a result of that, you turn this into a successful agricultural exercise and enterprise, I should say.
Well, I wanted to ask you on what other legs would your agriculture thrust stand on, but you've mentioned a few. We don't want to leave you out of the conversation, Lorenz, but
No.
although agriculture may not be your forte, but what do you think about that particular sector?
Well, in my constituency, agriculture will play a very important role. And I have said to the young people there that we need to have a number of orchards. The pandemic has opened our eyes to how our insecurity, our food insecurity. And the thrust is, if we could have 100 to 125 orchards, each is a different fruit across the mountain range, and have those in our constituency. Have a farmer's market in the constituency. Every day I can go to that market and have something fresh. And so we will not have to wait on any importation, because coming on that, or in addition to that, you would have processing plants to do with canning of pineapples, mangoes, or whatever it is. You have preservatives, you have sauces, condiments, you name it, we will have it. Who should own it? The young people. Imagine somebody 20 years owning something. By the time they reach 40, the person is a substantial contributor to the economy and to the constituency. I have said, and Dr. Douglas has increased it to 1,000, I have said from the time I became a candidate that I need 25 million years in my first term. young people. How are they going to achieve that? They must receive the necessary support, the financial support. Because a young person, unless he has a benefactor, would not have that kind of capital. The country must invest in our young people. One of it is through agriculture, through training, manufacturing, a traditional outlay of economics. Manufacturing can play an important role in our economy. So all that, and one thing I'm pushing, we must have what I call an innovative hub. We have bright young people throughout St. Kitts in my constituency. They have seen young people in America and in England have outlays where they can go and explore their talent, robotics, apps, you name it. Why can't we have something like that in our country? So our young people have a Silicon Valley. Our young people, give them the money so they can explore their talent. And we will be surprised to see what we achieve in St. Kitts and Nevis.
Well, we're never short on ideas, you know. Around the region, we're never short on ideas, yeah. But implementing, making sure it works, putting in the work to get it developed can be a huge problem. Going back to you, Dr. Douglas.
Yes.
You mentioned the Citizenship by Investment program. It has taken some blows. It has gone up and down. The current administration said they were able to successfully revamp it, and it's doing well. You say that's not the case. It's taking a lot of blows and so on. What would a Denzel Douglas-led government do to make sure that is or continues to be a serious pillar, economic pillar for St. Kitts and Nevis?
Right. I want to thank you for that, because there has been a lot said with regard to what I would have done or did not do with regard to that particular vehicle for economic development. Firstly, the program today is among the cheapest in the entire world. And when I say that, I mean that literally, not figuratively. It's among the cheapest of all programs in the world, in the entire global industry. Remember, we were the ones who were at the top of this chain. Today, we are at the lowest level. Denzel Douglas, with his team, including Steve and others, would bring this back to its platinum level. This government is fooling people when it says that we are platinum again. That is not true. We are among the cheapest of the world. Not because it's bringing in money. The money it is bringing in is far, far below what it would have been bringing in if it had continued under Labour administration. We will rebuild it. We will take it up back to the high level, where it is no longer the first that the poorest man who is looking at your passport will go. It will be the first for the richest people in the world to go to. And I'm not saying that because I'm in a political campaign. No. I have spoken to those who are willing to come back and help rebuild this program to where it used to be. That is why I made the statement earlier about twinning the cryptocurrency with the blockchain technology. People who have been successful in creating the new thrust in economic development are saying, Douglas, we would want you to come back and take us to the next level. They own St. Kitts passports, but when every little Tom, Dick, and Harry, a guy who is working for a manager, and he goes to him and borrows a few $1,000 and gets a St. Kitts passport, he has the same passport as his boss. People don't want that. They want it to be platinum. Only a certain level of an individual who has been successful in several specific areas of endeavor. That's what we want to go back to. And again, there was a lot of talk about the security issues and, oh, I undermine security. Absolute nonsense. Absolute nonsense. There's not even one case that can be pointed out to me where we gave someone who was a criminal, for example, a passport? None. Look at the FinCEN report. Oh, we believe. There's no fact. Nothing has been proven up to now. Because there were certain issues which I will not get into here in public that would have created that. Because Douglas was asked to do this. I said, I can't. This is a sovereign nation. There have to be protocols established. But I don't want to go there.
Well, as you've introduced here, you have history with the program.
Of course.
You have history with the Citizenship by Investment program. And one of the things that was being said while you were in office was that you and your government were using it as a slush fund. Now, I know you've had a conversation, just hold on a minute. I know you've had a conversation with Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda, Gaston Brown.
Yes.
He, in fact, is quoting the amount of money you said you left, not necessarily citizenship by investment money, but overall money that you left in the treasury when you lost the election.
Yes.
I mean, people hearing different things, and it's difficult to find out what is the actual truth. Did you actually use the CBI as a slush fund, Dr. Douglas?
Never.
There were people who were convinced that was the case.
I have never, ever used government funds. Not for personal use, not for political use. My party never was financed out of government. Never, ever was financed out of government. Never, ever. The ordinary people sell their pudding on weekends. There are this barbecue events here and there, we raise money. And some investors made good use of the success that they had had with Labour administration and helped to finance. We don't have to use government money. A lot of people are mistaken that the planes that came in 5 years ago is planes that were paid for by government money. Absolute nonsense. Just as Dr. Simmons, when he was bringing in his planes over the years, did not use government funds. Why should we use government funds? There are people of goodwill who wish the Labour Party administration success and financed. The ordinary man who go every weekend, the women in the various constituencies. Look at Dr. Joe constituency. For a while, almost every week something was being thrown up. Look at Marcella in number 2. For a while, almost everything. People just do things. The little, maybe it's only $3,000, but if you add that up every week, it comes to something. And we never abused. But never, ever abused.
Whatever the truth of the matter, Dr. Douglas,
yes,
there was that perception.
I know.
If you get back into government, how do you ensure that perception does not come back to bite you? What will you do to make sure that things are in order, that your government is very transparent?
I was just about to say that.
Okay, go ahead.
We want to make sure that accountability and transparency will be the order of the day. Never would I, Denzel Douglas, hide important assessment of our economy by international financial institutions. Never will I hide those reports of the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. Never, ever. When we had 170% GDP in terms of debt, did I hide it? I came out to the people. I said to the people, this is not sustainable. The amount of money that we are spending every month, every quarter to pay our debt, it's robbing us of our opportunity to invest in human development, etc. We have to change that. We went and we said we would restructure our debt. We went to the IMF as an international financial institution who would oversee what we were doing in restructuring the economy and also restructuring our debt. Today, we were the first country, I believe, in modern world to have come out from an IMF program smelling sweeter than any rose. Denzel Douglas was able, because of the transparency, because of the accountability, That's what we did. And we shall continue on the same path. I agree, maybe there were some areas of tardiness. We have learned our lessons. We've lost a whole 5 years of continued development and advancement of our country because of that. I don't want ever to go down in history like that again. And so it will be an open, transparent government, unafraid of criticism today.
But sometimes governments learn their lessons after they've taken out of office. And when they go back,
Yes.
they tend to forget there were lessons that they learned.
Well, in the first instance, we came out of office in a very unfortunate way. It was by luck that the others got it. I don't think the people really had endeavored to create, or maybe they did, I don't know. I won't go there either. But the fact is that the government was changed. People did not like some of the things that we were doing, and as a result of that, we found ourselves out of government. I'm on the air. So I can say to you, Ken, we are not afraid of criticism. We are not like the present Prime Minister, who people are afraid to even criticize, to call his name. We're not like that. All kinds of people, all manner of people call me all manner of names. That's it. That's what the game is about. If you go into a public office, you must be able to take criticism. I don't go around and victimizing people because this is something negative, dismiss people, pull away from the bank where his brother is in charge, pull away people's application form for loans. That kind of nonsense. What I heard on the radio just this morning, not I was referring to those things. That's not how we want to operate. That's not how we want to operate in this new dispensation. And going further, last night I outlined a number of things.
Dr. Douglas, you might frighten people a little, you know. When you talk about new dispensation, we did have a new dispensation 5 years ago.
You think
and some people are saying, well, they didn't get all of what they want. So be careful when you're using that word.
No. I warned the people of St. Kitts and Nevis, you know, that you were not going into a new dispensation. You were going into a situation where you were going to embolden Harris to look after himself and his family.
So what is the new dispensation you're proposing?
The new dispensation is that people would be freer. The good governance agenda that was, I think, the thrust of their campaign and mandate has not been fulfilled. I will pick it up and run with it. I believe, to be frank with you, what really caused people to lose faith in me mostly was the motion of no confidence.
I was about to mention it, actually.
And also maybe the way that we try to change the boundaries.
So when you talk about good governance, people might say, how can we believe him when we had this 26-month motion of no confidence?
No, we had that situation there. Just last night I was reflecting on it in our unique presentation that we had with Dwyer and Sam. It was almost daring because I know I had the popular support of the people, and I said, well, if the opposition is not going to be able to get me to go there, well, I'll stay as long as I can. And there was good reason, because remember the matter was taken to court. We were really going to do it, and then they took the matter to court, and so we said, well, let the court decide.
But the point is playing that kind of game that you're referring to.
That's it.
That sort of pinches people in terms of how much good governance is that? And will you try it again when you get back in office?
That's what I'm saying. And on reflection, I thought that, well, since they went to the court, let the court decide. Of course, the court does not necessarily have to decide everything for you, because the structures of governance are there, which you can follow. So that is one of the things I really regretted. I really regretted playing that kind of brinkmanship, if you want to call it that, to see what was going to happen. But in all other areas of governance, which and where else did we fall down? The matter with ZIZ broadcasting, etc., we started the process years ago. We brought, what's his name, the guy from Trinidad and Tobago. I can't remember his name now, but who practically privatized ZIZ, ran it for 3 years. And then I can't remember what really went wrong. And so the station was reverted to us. But we started on that process.
But the point is, when you were in government, the then opposition had a lot of difficulty getting to ZIZ. It's like it's a recurring decimal. Whatever whatever opposition is trying to get into government, look, when we get there, we will democratize the state-owned radio station. And it never happens, Dr. Douglas.
Ken, it wasn't like that.
It never happens.
It never was like that. We said that the chairman of the board, chairman, various persons who were there, said that they did not think the time was right for the station to be used for party politics.
But that is the point. There will always be an excuse.
Right. But we
there
never
will
did.
always be an excuse, Dr.
But
Douglas.
not in the way it is being
that
abused
prevents
today.
the democratic process from working as it should. It happens with every government.
Right. And that is why, as I said, we started the process of privatization. And it failed after 3 years. We divested from being a ministerial tool to a private company with its own board and everything. The next step, I must tell you, was to completely privatize it, sell it. But you needed to bring it to a state of profitability before you can sell it. These were other things. Cable and wireless, we did it successfully. The cable, the cable should have been sold to the general public 7 years ago. Just never brought the final touches to it. Cable would have been sold. We didn't want to continue to own these things, no.
Okay, I don't want you to dominate the interview, so let us turn to...
Sorry about that.
Let us turn to Steve.
That's the problem. It's very interesting and it's good for people to know.
Yes.
Okay, I wanted to ask you though, since you might be involved in small business and entrepreneurship, are you aware of the current status of the amount of small businesses there are in St. Kitts and Nevis today, and how much priority would you give that? What would you do to make sure we have a lot more small businesses in St. Kitts and Nevis? They're beginning to get successful, that kind of thing. What would be the plan?
Okay, to answer the first part of the question, over the years, we have realized that a number of small businesses have gone out of business for various reasons. And you have the influx of a certain sect in that area that take over the small business. What is being proposed is that we have a no-tax zone in constituency number 4. And we are looking at using that no-tax zone to revive small businesses. It's not going to be a mall per se, but it's going to be where you have various businesses in one area under an umbrella where they have protection from taxes. And where we would have 1 or 2 major businesses to stabilize that area in order to bring traffic to the area and to make it successful. That no-tax zone should be sufficient impetus to start to spread to other sector or other constituencies. And you could have a wave where they are interrelated. Because, for instance, if you take a small business, want to compete with a Rams or the Chinese, they don't have the capital. They cannot bring in a pontoon, a container of goods, because they don't have the capacity for storage and for display. But Rams can do that. If you have a number of small businesses in a co-op, and they can bring in various pontoons and sell at reasonable prices, we can stabilize prices in this country. The problem we have is that a few major retailers who are suppliers and retailers at the same time. So I am buying from Rams, I'm competing with Rams. Rams can always give a discount when it goes nearing expiration date. But I can't because my overheads are high. We want to reduce that. And so we are saying that small businesses under no tax zone should be able to start to flourish again, and then after a while spread to the other areas of the various constituencies. I cannot wake up 9 o'clock in the night and go to a mom and pop shop. We could have done that 15 years ago, 20 years ago. Not now. You could have gone in the morning before 8 o'clock, knock on the door, and a mom and pop shop would open to serve you. You can't do that now. We are saying, I mean, yes, someone may argue that things have changed, but a community remains a community, and we need service in our communities.
I'm kind of glad you expanded away from your constituency, because if you're a minister, yes, you have to serve your constituency, but you have to serve the whole nation as well. So small business, national. Look at it from a national perspective. Dr. Douglas, we're back with you.
Yes.
We don't have a lot of time remaining.
Realize that now.
We only have about 10 minutes.
Yes.
So if you can tell us, I know you said you might just have the prime ministership and you would be looking overall at the ministers. How would that work?
Well, remember the prime minister. And the prime minister, usually, he would have oversight for the human resource.
Similar to a CEO.
You know, right.
Similar to a CEO. Right. Yeah, managers.
Right.
Yeah, but don't forget, you're not just a CEO, you're a politician as well.
Right. No,
we
I understand.
We don't want to leave you with a lot of time for mischief making.
I understand.
We need you to be very busy taking care of the nation's business.
I will be very, very busy. I tell you that. So, usually human resource, national security, finance, these are some of the common areas that you would want the prime minister to be engaged in. So, I have not yet specifically identified whether we would have junior ministers, parliamentary secretaries, or what. But I would want to ensure that someone is specifically tasked with the portfolios, and then I would have the opportunity to work closely with these individuals, whether they are males or females. I emphasize that specifically because females are there and we need to put them to work. If they're not getting elected, at least let us bring them into the government until they feel the confidence of getting elected. So it's very, very important that we put that construct in place, and we will put it in place. But the idea really is to look at specifically at the financial situation, the Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Sustainable Development, which was once twinned with it, because that's where we need to go, as I said, post-COVID-19. We will pay very, very close attention to the fiscal stimulus program, because that's where we are going to step off in the right direction. And a number of incentives would be introduced from within the first 30 days. Certain new initiatives will be pursued. And we're not afraid to really think big and, if possible, spend big. I know the other side is saying, oh, he's going to take you back to the IMF and all kind of nonsense like that. I want to read for you a line from the IMF itself. It says here, the head of the IMF has warned that the IMF anticipates the worst economic fallout since the Great Depression. That's a quotation. She advised that, and continued to quote her, governments should spend as much as they could afford, and more, as much as they could afford, and more. But keep the receipts. In other words, don't thief somebody money. Keep the receipts to show the public accountants that you are using the money for the benefit of the people. And that's exactly what we will do. In fact, in Canada, for example, the government announced fiscal measures amounting to some 9.8% of GDP in Canada. In the USA, the government introduced a paycheck protection and healthcare enhancement program, which is expected to cost some US $483 billion US dollars. $483 billion US dollars. And which, among other things, will result in some employees receiving more in monthly unemployment benefits than their regular pay. You understand that? So I am thinking big, and I will go big as long as it will benefit the workers and the citizens of this fair land, St. Kitts and Nevis. I want a special program where I will deliver the fiscal stimulus program to the people of St. Kitts and Nevis in short order.
So thinking big, will that be your guiding light as a new government?
Yes, thinking big for the next gen, SKN, because it is all about the people. As long as your receipts are there, that you ain't thief nobody money, no taxpayers' money, but you are spending the money on the people, which is why up to now we can't get an IMF report from Dr. Harris.
How are you going to get,
That's why.
How are you going to get money to spend that you don't have? Are you going to take big loans? Is that part of the thinking big?
Ken, is not that.
No, I just want you to clarify.
Firstly, if you're going to give people a higher disposable income, they will spend more and government will get more. That is why the VAT is so critically important when we introduced it. Everybody pays VAT. So you spend more, you have more money, you spend it, the government collects more.
And you create more, you create more opportunities.
So you create more opportunities.
So is VAT in trouble under a new Denzel Douglas administration? Are you going to bring it back up to 17%?
No, we shall reduce the VAT from 17 to 13%. We will do a number of things. We will have a salary review. A salary review will be done in the first 3 months, first 90 days. A salary review will be, in fact, in place. All government employees and pensioners will live better, and we will take less from them.
Promises, Dr. Douglas.
That is not a promise. I've been through this before. I've been through this for 20 years. I know what I'm telling you. I know. I mean, the stipend, for example, to workers who have been affected. I mean, you give a worker $1,000. $1,000 is not even minimum wage. It is indecent, totally indecent and disrespectful.
But it's not meant to be a wage. It's meant to be.
But they have no wage. They have no wage. They have no wage. That is the point. So you must give them a wage.
You must give them a job so you can get them paid.
But if there's no job as yet, this is only the period where we are still under COVID-19. We still don't have no work out there.
But how long do you anticipate we are going to be under COVID-19?
Well, we believe. Sorry?
Yeah, go ahead.
We believe that, for example, a lot of the support systems that we will put in place, nothing less than 6 months. 3 months is this month. We're now in June. So what Harris is saying to the people of this country is that after this month, nothing is there for you.
He's not necessarily saying that.
That's what he has said.
He may have said 3 months in the first instance.
Don't put words in his mouth.
Didn't hear in the first instance.
Don't put words in his mouth.
So, give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Okay. You'll have the final word. I just want you to wrap up. Give me a few more words in terms of how you're looking at the whole election, how you're looking forward to getting elected, and what will be your priorities?
Well, Ken, thank you for the question. I'm comfortable. My campaign has peaked. My campaign is now waiting for that day. The people are ready. Yesterday at our motorcade, the people who are supporting us as we pass through, it's a refreshment. It gives me pleasure and eagerness to see that day. We have our things in place, and I look forward to the day I can serve the people of constituency number 4 and the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis in whatever capacity the Prime Minister would put me. Thank you.
Dr. Douglas, I'm sorry, you have only 1 minute.
Right. I want to say that electing a next-gen SKN government will bring enormous benefits for all across the table. I mentioned the government workers, pensioners. What about those who are students and the youths? For 6 months, no student loans will be paid for. 6 months. none will be paid for. It's forgiven. We want to make sure that the old age pension, Social Security, 81% increase. 81% increase in the minimum pension that is being paid to pensioners by the Social Security system. That is a done deal. And so our pensioners who presently are getting $430 as a minimum non-contributory pension, $430, they can't live from that. That will go up to $780 per month. Steve is here. $430 to $780 per month. They cannot live with $430. These are my parting words. I will look after the interest of the people, giving me, if I am given the opportunity, the mandate to do so with my colleagues. I am looking forward for this next term.
Thank you very much, Dr. Douglas, and Steve Rensford of constituency number 4.
Thank you very much, Ken.
All right.